on people. This I'm going to mention is Erika Balkan. We've heard about her. We've seen her in the cinematic. She's one of our mentors. She's one of our iconic characters. Each of the racial areas has one. You basically start out, she basically leads you and becomes your friend in your early adventures.
In your path and guides you to honor and glory.
This is another storytelling piece we
May
have.
Raven bless you with a vision to see and the wisdom to understand.
So we've recorded over 60 feature films worth of dialogue in Guild Wars 2, so that you can always hear characters talking and immersing you in the world that you're not exploring.
Did you just get experience for discovering here?
So we found our first dynamic event here. This is a real simple one where we're trying to kill ice worms so we can lure out the giant worm and fight against it. Just like any other dynamic event in the game, this one scales. So the more players that are here, the more worms that are going to show up, and the more worms that are required to kill to complete the event.
So like Colin mentioned about the worms to be defeated, like your personal story, you've got a little quest tracker there. You also have that for each and every dynamic event. So you can see how far along that event has progressed and what else you might need to be doing to help achieve the success of that event.
So we completed the first event, and it's now branched into the second event. And this is the point in your traditional MMO where you would be collecting 5 puppy tails or killing 10 rats. We wanted to up the ante a little bit and show that we're serious about making an innovative game experience. So this guy's been toned down a little bit for purposes of getting people through the demo. But he is dynamically scaling just like any other event in the game. So the boss becomes more difficult for players to show up.
And when you actively dodge, does the worm actually miss your character?
Yes. Rock out the way of attack.
Is there an option to play with a gamepad, or is it all?
That's a good question.
That's a great question.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure almost any game can come with gamepad into, and you can hotkey the controller from there. So I would think that you could do that.
You can tell from the start like that we can use the mouse.
Yeah, right now we're focused on mouse and keyboard development.
Something to carry back.
So with the combat system, are you concerned at all about latency affecting that? In terms of
So we've actually built a relatively latency-free server model to help deal with issues like that. We do a lot of things to help make sure that there aren't issues like that, and a lot of rubber banding or anything. So you've seen we've been running around a map with a bunch of players. Later, just a little bit, we'll go to a map that has a ton of players running around in it, and you're not going to see people rubber banding or warping at all. It's something that's really important to us to help maintain. If we're going to have combat like that, we can't have a whole lot of latency issues. So we're trying very hard to keep that to a minimum. So at this point, we've completed our first personal story step. We're out of the Norn tutorial, and we've now arrived in the true explorable world, where there's dynamic events just going on all over the place. You can go out and explore and discover. We're picking our rewards for completing our first personal story step, and assigning attribute points that change our stats and our abilities. One of the interesting things about Guild Wars 2 is the first 5 skills on your skill bar are determined by the weapons that you have equipped. The 6th skill is your dedicated healing skill. Skills 7, 8, and 9 are utility skills that you can pick from a list of skills and slot in there. And skill 10 is your elite skill that you get later on in the game. And because the first 5 skills are determined by the weapons that you're holding, now that Matthew has new weapons, he can equip a short sword, and it'll change out his first couple skills there. And in combat, he can actually hot swap weapons, so he can change his style of play and tactics because of this. So he just jumped from the mace, and now he can swap over to the sword. Just like that, and you're able to change up your style of gameplay. You can go from melee weapons to ranged weapons that way, so you can completely change your role in combat on the fly, based on what the people or creatures you're fighting against are doing.
Are there going to be skill requirements for weapons? strength?
No. If you pick up a weapon, you can use it. Actually, you pick up anything in the game, you can use it. There are environment weapons scattered all over you can pick up, and when you pick them up, they change out the first skills on your bar as well.
What's going to prevent level 1 from using high-level weapons?
There are currently levels.
There are, level restrictions for particular weapons, so yes.
Okay.
So this is our scout system here, and this guy is showing you a bunch of locations in the world where there are people you can help. All around these locations, there are dynamic events going off, at locations where the hearts are, and in locations that they're not. And the idea here is this gives people who need a little bit of direction in an open world game some areas to help direct them of where to go, and along the way they're going to run into all these dynamic events, be drawn into the dynamic event chains, and spread out across the world.
And like they mentioned in the cinematic, it's actually something that will help build your fame and build your reputation throughout the world. So a lot of the choices that you make and the hero you decide to be will be reflected there.
And at this point, you can continue through your personal story and experience that story. You can go play dynamic events. There's a whole lot of other content you can go experience too. For the purposes of time, we're going to jump out of this map, and we're going to go to a high-level map in the middle of the game, and we're going to show you a thief with a fully activated skill bar.
You showed us picking character attributes, strength and stuff. Can you re-roll that, or could you effectively kind of break your character?
So we've tried to set up the attributes in such a way that you really can't break your character. You're just making choices that make them play a little bit differently. That being said, we're still trying to decide how we want to handle the system. If we want people to be able to hot change it whenever they want, or if there's only specific times they can do that, if they're going to be locked into it. We haven't made a final decision on that at this point.
And I would actually, to clarify that too, your choice of whether you like strength, cunning, or instinct has no effect on the attributes of your character. Your attributes that he was assigning the points to when you leveled up, those were a separate matter from what your story is. So I can think that strength is important, but also I'm looking at, okay, I put more money or more of my experience into power or vitality.
Now, the choices you make in your personal story can never be undone. Those are permanent and affect your character forever.
Right.
That is worth noting. So you can see, for those familiar with Guild Wars 1, that was the City of Lion's Arch entrance there in the background.
Question about the story. It seems that the game is really being driven on how you're developing your characters with story and things like that. The selection at the beginning of the character development. Are we going to see that throughout the game? You do an event, you'll be asked a series of questions and you choose?
Your personal story will continue through the game, and as over the course of your personal story, you'll be asked additional questions. You'll make additional choices. Some will be small choices. Do I save the orphanage or do I save the hospital? Some will be large choices. Whom do I ally with? Whom do I help? And that, again, builds your own personal story.
And once you make that decision, that's your decision.
That's a decision that you're making.
There are some events in the game where you make decisions as a group too, where it's like you can go to a fighting pit, and there's an event that happens there where you're fighting against rounds of creatures. And each round, everybody in the pit gets to vote about what you're going to fight against next, and whatever gets the most votes, those creatures come out. So there's some little things like that mixed in.
Yeah, and in the hero tab that you're seeing here, your entire personal story will be recorded, so you can always go back and revisit, how did I get here? Yeah, exactly. and since this is a demo character that we kind of plopped into the middle of the world, your story at this point is very limited, as you haven't gone through and made a lot of those choices to define who you are yet.
So you can see off in the distance there's fire, there's a town burning, and we have found another dynamic event. Again, we never had to talk to anybody, didn't have to read anything. There it is in the world, and you instantly see it going on and get drawn into it. There are a bunch of other players running around at this event right now, actively participating in it. So we're a thief, and we're going to show off a couple things here. First, Matthew has used the stealth ability thieves have, so nobody can see him. And he's picked up an environmental weapon that we were talking about. He's picked up a bucket of water where he can dump water on things. And so he's sneaking around past the pirates, and he's putting out these fires with his environmental weapon. One of the great benefits of stealth is that you can get behind or next to enemies and use skills like backstab to do a bunch of extra damage.
Now you have area attacks, or I guess what I should say is when you do an attack, is it a cone or is it a single target?
Some are.
It's entirely on each skill.
Some are area of effect, some are a single target. You have a variety. You'll see if he does an area of effect spell, a green target will go down.
Oh, okay.
If he does have a cone spell available, a basic cone area will show up.
So one of the unique things about the thief is, although their first 5 skills on their skill bar are determined by the weapons they're using. We'll come back to that in a second. We'll show off our death system here. So when a character is killed, they're not actually killed immediately. They get one last chance to try to save themselves. So here they have a bunch of skills they can use, and if they kill something when they're down, they pop back up and they get some of their health back and they get to keep fighting. Also at this point, any other character can come up, kneel down, and start giving them health back, and they can actually put them back to life. There aren't no dedicated answers.
Yeah, everyone can res, everyone can basically bring you back into the fight.
You don't have to be grouped up to do it.
You don't have to be grouped up. No one's in a group here.
And not only can you do it with other player characters, you can do it with, townspeople. You can do it with people's pets. You can do it with really any character that you run into in the world.
So we just saved another player just right there by doing that. And
Did you gain experience for saving that
Yes.
player?
And these are people playing down on the show floor right now that we're just running around with and just happen to run into and start playing. So I was talking a little bit about the third skill for the thief. Based on the two weapons that you're holding, your main hand and your offhand skill with your thief, that determines what your third skill is. So if you have two pistols, you get the skill unload, where you do a whole bunch of pistol shots straight in a row. Then you can switch over to two daggers, and you get the skill Leaping Death Blossom, where you jump through the air, and everybody you hit gets bleeding on them and can dodge attacks while you're leaping. So the Thief also has another unique mechanic about it, which is its initiative. Thief skills do not have recharge on them. You can use them as much as you want, as long as you have an initiative pool available to use them.